All right, welcome to Yoga and Mythology. It's part of our humanities studies. So today's focus is 3 poses, actually 6 poses, 5 poses. The Virabhadrasana, 1, 2, and 3, Tadasana and Garudasana. Or in English, mountain pose, eagle pose, and warrior poses. My hope is to inspire you to explore storytelling in your practice, to explore mythology as a tool for understanding and growth, and to encourage more introspection, balance, embodiment, a grounded energy in these particular postures, and maybe all your standing postures. So we're going to start with Tadasana for part 1, Tadasana. And have you ever just felt like, oh, Tadasana is simple, I'm just standing there? Or had the thought like someone's looking at me going, they're probably thinking like, what do they do just standing there? Because I'll do like Tadasana at a park, right? And I feel in my mind, I'm like, I'm just standing here, and they're probably thinking, what are you doing? But we maybe already understand that it's more than that. And I call it the blueprint for all the standing poses. So I want you to walk away. If there's nothing else you take away from this part 1 is Tadasana blueprint for standing poses. We're also going to talk about the story of Ganga and Shiva. Ganga and Shiva, to understand how stability, focus, and grounded energy is part of the energetic dynamics of Tadasana. So let's start with Ganga. Who is Ganga? Well, you may have heard of the Ganges River in India. Ganga is the river goddess. And the story about her is that when she came to earth, she descended with such force that the gods were like, whoa, Nelly, like she is just like way too powerful. And it is this tremendous force, and it's uncontrollable. And so causing damage, right? Like, here comes Ganga. So the gods were just, what do we do? And at that point, Shiva, who is the king of the yogis, okay? If you don't remember anything else about Shiva, that's one of his titles, and he's known for spending like years and years in isolation, meditating and doing postures, and he can be somewhat destructive, but as a force of creation. But he was the one who decided, I'm going to step up and help moderate her power. I'm going to help moderate Ganga's intense force and power. And he did this not by trying to like lasso and control her, which, as we all know, doesn't work out. Ever had a controlling boyfriend or a partner who's like trying to control you? It doesn't work out. But what he did do was he stood kind of like a mountain, right? Tall, with his head reaching to the heavens, grounded, and he allowed her to flow through his matted dreadlocks. So if you can visualize this, I think it's a pretty easy visual, right? So he's standing, and this river is flowing through his hair. And because his hair is softening the flow, her descent is more gentle to earth and allowing the nourishing qualities of her to shine forward. So again, we see Shiva, he has this dance between himself and Shakti, who's the mother goddess, right? And they have this dance that creates all sorts of matter and experiences. Well, here he is with yet another feminine force, moderating it so it can be the beautiful force it's meant to be. So they're bringing out the best in each other, right? These two dynamic opposing forces. And we've talked before about Sthira and Sukha, and here we can kind of see it again. The stabilizing of his strong spine and the softening of flowing through the hair, and the water being able to flow with ease. Okay? So the teacher Sadhguru, he'll say, there is a saying in the Himalayas, every peak is Shiva himself. Any mountain people? Mountains can kind of, however you imagine God, like I always feel closer to God when I'm in the mountains. But for some, it's like seeing Shiva in every peak. So here's where we might pop into our small groups or take a moment to reflect on a few questions. The questions that I'd like us to consider, knowing this little story, this short snippet of a story, how might the story of Shiva and Ganga inspire new ways for you to cue Tadasana for yourself or to share with others? What imagery or metaphors could you use to connect stability and groundedness with this pose? So you can create your own story to help bring those qualities forward. How could knowing this story influence the way you teach or embody the pose? So now let's take 5 minutes or so to chat about those questions with your peers or reflect in a journal and see where it takes us. So let's get into some experiential practice here, coming to Tadasana, Tada, mountain, asana, posture. And I heard somebody say it in the convos, grounding into the 4 corners of the feet. So spreading our weight evenly in the foot, honoring, the arches of the feet and the toes not gripping, but finding a solidness there in the feet. And rooting, the rooting principle applies to all our standing poses. We must feel grounded and stable in warrior, in triangle, in standing back bend. So feeling that downward force. And, now you can imagine a waterfall coming down on your head. Ooh, that's heaviness. So we're feeling that. While engaging the legs, engagement of the legs, so our quads can lift up. I think of internal rotation too. So if we were to kind of pull the thighs in towards center and rotate inward there, knees lifted, glutes back here to support, so the buttocks is gently engaged. So now it's starting to feel all of that happening. Let's soften, let it go. Surely still feeling pretty steady. And then let's engage the legs again and do that a couple of times, feeling the difference between that full engagement and just standing in steadiness. Okay. All right, moving to neutral pelvis and spine. So we think about the spine stacked over the pelvis. And we want to avoid collapsing and we want to avoid overarching. So we're finding those natural curves in the spine, your lower back curve, the outward curve of the middle of your back, the inward curve of the neck, and finding that perfect alignment where the head is supported and I feel strong and tall. And this is where we're maybe bringing things up. We're lifting up towards ceiling, like a balloon floating towards the ceiling. The head is pulled upward, maintaining the grounding and the engagement of the legs. Go ahead and soften, rock from foot to foot. All right, so let's talk about our torso, expanding the chest. Now the way I cue expanding the chest is to turn the palms forward. But so start with your feet, move up, and then if you turn the palms out, you feel the upper chest muscles stretch. Can you keep that stretch going by pulling your shoulder blades in, but still turn your palms inward? You can, right? So you don't have to do mountain pose with your palms supinated outward like this, but it does help many of us get this open chest sensation, okay? I'm feeling the breath, so the upward pull through the crown. I also feel a subtle stretch if you think about your navel and your heart pulling away from each other and stretching here as we peel open that chest. Okay, so vertical extension, axial extension. This is what's really important if you were to raise your arms up overhead and go into a little back bend. I gotta maintain that extension to really take the back bend safely and effectively. All right, coming back to standing and steadiness. And now let's talk integration of breath and awareness. So even standing still and engaging the body, here we engage the mind as well. So if we were to come back into all those principles we just talked about, from the feet to the hips, legs, torso, chest. Now noticing the breath, noticing the oscillation of the ribs and belly. So making space for the breath to flow. So just the way Shiva had to make space for this powerful feminine force plummeting down top of him. Where can I soften? Where can I yield a little bit? And if you're comfortable closing your eyes, I would give that a try. Integration. And spending some time in this posture. So not treating Tadasana like okay, I'm going to do this in order to get to this other pose, but really exploring this as a meditation in itself can result in building stability, ease, presence for not only more complex poses, but just life, complex moments that require nuance and awareness. Like stepping up, like Shiva stepping up to handle something that everyone else is running, screaming from, to run into the fire, to stand strong. All right, you can loosen and soften and melt back into your seat, and hopefully you enjoyed that, maybe found a new piece of Tadasana to take home. So Tadasana, not just standing there. It will improve how you just stand when you're not paying attention, when you're just out and about in life. If you practice Tadasana pointedly this way, your posture and your basic standing will naturally become more grounded and efficient. So we're using balancing effort and ease, that's Sthira and Sukha principle, to reach more stability and mobility. Because now, with every warrior or triangle or chair pose, we'll do chair pose later. I know it's someone's favorite. but if you can take mountain into chair pose and think about this story and that cascade, I do like the visual of water running over my head and down my body. And fun connection to my other passion, Reiki. Being under the waterfall was where the idea of Reiki came to earth also. So connections. So you can think of these other standing poses as sort of a dynamic expression of mountain. And to kind of keep reiterating this blueprint theory of mine, and it's not just me, it's pretty well accepted in yoga communities, but the Karate Kid, right? I think I brought this up the other day. Tadasana is like Daniel's crane stance, or wax on, wax off. This seemingly, if you let it be, monotonous, simple, overly simple maybe, practice. And the ego wants to rush ahead and I just want to do warrior now. Enough mountain. But the more time we spend cultivating the awareness and stability of mountain, the better your warrior is going to feel. So, I have some notes here. Grounded feet, foundation for power, like Daniel rooting down to kick. There's this, if I need to suddenly have explosive movement, I'd rather be coming from mountain, where there's a springiness. Weren't we talking about if I'm too stiff, that water's crushing me. But if I keep my springiness or my softness, so I'm ready for action. I'm poised for action, but I'm standing my ground. And we can also tie this back to ahimsa, nonviolence. Like, I'm not here to start a fight. I'm not here to escalate, but I am here to stop you. I'm here to hold my ground. And that's what's required sometimes for our safety, for others' safety. Legs are engaged, ready for action. So even stillness, again, prepares us for movement. Alignment, efficiency, and protection. So we stack the spine and lift the chest. It's safer for the joints. We're just honoring the natural curves of the spine versus when we hunch our shoulders forward and our head hangs. That is not great for the soft tissue. That is not, it's inappropriate use of the ergonomics, the design. So we're kind of putting ourselves in the position God intended with the design of the body. Focus and awareness is a mental blueprint. So if we can take the poise, the mental poise of mountain pose, and bring that same presence into that meeting at work or that confrontation with a loved one or whatever scenario, whatever posture life is throwing at us, how differently would we behave? So it's about mastering the fundamentals to make every other pose more possible and more maybe enjoyable or tolerable, right? So Shiva holding Ganga, Tadasana channels energy through strong aligned structure. Through rooting, lifting crown, opening spine, we're letting energy flow safely and freely, just as the river is allowed to flow without being overwhelmed or overwhelming Shiva and the world. So just take a moment, and if you want to get back up and stand, you can, or you can even sit now, and just take a moment, a deep breath to visualize that one more time, that waterfall cascading, that power, and yourself receiving it without collapsing, without shying away. We'll come back and we get to shift into part 2. Part 2, Garudasana. We're hearing asana again. What does asana mean? Pose, posture. To be here, to land here in this particular shape and configuration. So Garuda, or eagle pose. Anyone ever do eagle pose and think, how the hell is this like an eagle? Because I always did. Like, how the heck? If I were to design eagle pose, it would be more like, like some flying. But hopefully by the end of this story, you'll be like, oh, I get it now. So, because some poses are named after, like downward dog looks like a dog stretching. And that's very, easy to see. We're not trying to look like an eagle. We're trying to emulate this fella right here. I'm going to pass him around, or I'm going to put him up on the screen. But Garuda, he is the eagle guy. That is the steed for Lord Vishnu. I'm not going to get into Vishnu, this story, but Lord Vishnu rides around on the back of Garuda. A lot of the gods in Hindu mythology have like a steed. I think, Ganesha is this big elephant-headed. His is a mouse. That's funny. So we're going to look at the myth of Garuda, who is the king of the birds, to understand how we can focus, how we can find focus and freedom by drawing inward. So now we're starting to understand the wrapping of the arms and legs. We're drawing inward to find this power within, because that's what's required sometimes. It's not seeking an external source, but coming in to connect with our inner sources. So the pose challenges us physically and mentally, right? It's a challenging one. And it helps us access strength, balance, and agility through that concentration and inward focus. So let's go into some context. And this comes from the Mahabharata, the Great War, the epic that I think I mentioned is, I think, like 3 times longer than the Iliad and Odyssey combined. So if you wanted a nice year-long study for yourself, it's a great book, though, full of cool stories. And this is where we start to learn about characters like Garuda and Vishnu. So Garuda is half man, half eagle. He's a demigod. And he is considered the king of the birds, and he is the mount or vahana of Lord Vishnu. Vishnu, just a little about him, is the preserver of the universe. And you'll see him often depicted with blue skin and holding a conch, a discus, a mace, and a lotus. And he maintains cosmic order and protects dharma. So dharma is like your path or your calling or your role that you're meant to play. So he's the protector of that cosmic order. So there's chaos forces and there's forces of order. And Vishnu represents the order principle. And he rides around on this cool eagle guy. And they're buds. I always think of like, it's not just a steed, but like in some of the best stories, like, I don't know, is it the Lone Ranger? Isn't the horse like its own character, right? Like where the animal guide isn't just like some dumb animal, like they're like there for moral support. And so, Garuda is not just a steed. He is very much an advisor, a friend, a support for Vishnu and his goal of protecting order. So again, hopefully already some things are clicking. When you get into eagle pose, you're commanding order. You're bringing things into alignment and putting yourself in this path of needing to be less chaotic and more focused. Garuda's mother, Vinata, was enslaved by a clan of snake people, the Nagas. So Nagas are another like mythological monster. And they are like half human, half snake. And they took his mommy. So Vishnu is really upset. And of course, his bestie and steed is like, I got you. I will go get your mother for you. You're too distraught. You need to sit. You got other things on your plate. I am going to go get her. And to free her, what was asked of Garuda was to essentially steal the elixir of immortality, the Amrita, and take it from the gods in order to fulfill this quest. So like, isn't that pose an impossible quest? Right, so he's on this impossible quest. The odds are against him. And what he had to do is essentially, so he says in my notes here, Garuda had the radiance of 1,000 suns, immense strength and speed. But to succeed in this mission, he also had to shrink to impossibly small sizes, slip through spinning wheels, and navigate razor-sharp obstacles. Like there is just this like set of impossible obstacles that he's got to weave and wind and stay focused to get through. Because they're snake people, so their space is made for snaky movement. So it's his adaptability and his focus, his unyielding focus. And remember what's motivating him. It's not just like, I think I'm going to do this pose today. It's saving his friend's mom from peril. It's righting a wrong. And he's using that to propel him forward. So in Garudasana, we can embody the same kind of paradox. We can wrap and compress our limbs into these impossible formations, or do our best to do that. And we'll talk about modifications because, sometimes it's not possible to do it exactly the way a picture shows. But as we compress and wrap, we're creating compact form, yet with the ultimate goal of creating more expansiveness and lift and the ability to soar. You feel really, I don't even know the word for it, expansive, I guess, coming out of eagle pose, especially if you're holding it for a long time and you're doing the lifting. And again, blueprint of mountain, rooted, rising, feeling the force of gravity and staying with it. So So it's that physical wrapping, that's the mirror of the journey through the obstacles. And the pose reminds us that strength, agility, and freedom are what can emerge when we turn inward and focus and really stay focused. So I'm often encouraging people to do poses that are not their favorite and explore what's coming up. Why am I averse? What is it about this? You know, is it just a physical limitation that's not going anywhere and it's hurting me and harming me? Or am I just avoiding something difficult because it's requiring of me this growth that, I just want to do it yet. But if we start to think about what's motivating us to grow, to be better people, I would love to be more focused. I would love to be more stable. I would love to be more, be there for people when they need me. So if I take that mentality, if I think about my loved ones, I stand in mountain pose and I think about what motivates me to be a better person, period, and God, and like how do I reach connection with Atman, soul within, and then I go into just try my best to hold that pose. It's a totally different experience than if I'm just solely body focused, superficial focused. A lot more can come of it. So, I think we should do some experiential learning now. Get up. So where are we going to start? Mountain. And so to feel rooted and balanced on one leg, we first need to feel it on two. So spend a little time in mountain pose. Breathing, and I'm going to invite you to call up your reason for being here, your reason for doing this practice at all, for yoga as a lifestyle, your dharma, because again, this is connected to Vishnu, right? The order principle. How do you fit into the big picture? What are you here to accomplish on the earth while you have this precious time here? Now notice how your pelvis is level here. We want to keep it that way as we enter the posture. So we're going to bend our knees. I come from chair pose. I like to come from chair pose. So bending our knees and taking, you can start with your right leg over the top of the left. Now you can just stop right there or try to wrap around to the calf. And let's just pause here. You can touch a wall or come out of the pose if we're holding too long for you. But we're here to keep our hips level. And now feel the drawing inward, so pulling the thighs together. And if your foot is not quite wrapped around, try to bring that shin closer. You can also put your foot on a block there and push into the block. Let's unwrap. Mountain. And try the same exercise on the other leg. And if you want, trying hands at heart center and see if that helps you balance. Again, I've got wall close by, so you can move to a wall and really just focus on this contracting of the legs. Engage your core. Lengthen and lift. Think of our mountain pose again. All right, and we can unwrap. Mountain pose. And let's focus on the upper body. So if we go big wings, now we have to fit through a tight space. We're entering the world of the snakes. We're going to bring our left arm over the top, and we're going to try to stack our elbows. Now, if wrapping the hands to meet where the palms meet isn't possible, variations include hooking your thumb and pinky finger, holding a strap, one in each hand, or in some scenarios, just holding your shoulders so that we've got the elbows stacked. And that, feel the back of your heart open up. Feel the back, the shoulder blades space apart, and squeezing in through the front. Breathing steadily. And we're in mountain. The rest of us is in mountain. Let's try it on the other side. Open up. Spend a moment expanding. And then other side. Deep breath. So if your arms are in this contorted shape, or squeezing, you're pushing the hands into each other, pushing the forearms into each other. If you're hugging, you're maybe drawing in and together through the arms. So there's this contraction. All right, free that up. Now it's up to you in small stages, going from mountain, maybe through a squat or a chair. And let's bring breath in. Inhale to lengthen, exhale to make a gentle move. Maybe the leg comes around. If the right leg is on top, I've always practiced the left arm is on top. And I have noticed some variation in how that's taught. And I don't know if it's a big deal. You can explore that. I like to go opposites here. So if you're able to hold the whole pose and begin to lengthen, lift the elbows, hands away from face. So with all that constricting energy, look where you can expand and lengthen. Engaging with the breath. Maintaining steadiness. Coming back to that inward focus of what is my true motivation here? Whose mama am I rescuing? And as we come out of the pose, it's soft and we feel this opening. Maybe a little more freedom in the shoulders. We can move. And I don't know if it's just me or not, but I feel my heart chakra breathe when I come out. An opening there. Let's try it on the other side. Mountain, gathering strength, stability. Shifting with the breath and that inner focus. Legs first. Arms. Honoring the variation you might need today. And we can come out and soften and maybe spend a moment with our wings open. Our heart lifted. It can even be a little bit of a back bend. Gorgeous. Sit down when you're ready. Take it slow to the floor. Land in your nest. Mm-hmm. Eagles make huge nests. Like a full-grown person could lay in an eagle's nest.
The tallest trees ever.
So high up.
So high.
Yeah. And I hear eagles can, if there's a storm, they just fly above it. They can go so high in the atmosphere that they're just wait it out. So they're also like scavengers too, though. Like they get this noble vibe, but they're also just they'll steal your food that you worked hard to get, kind of thing. There's nobler birds out there, but Garuda, he had principles. He was extremely loyal, not to mention cool looking. And see how you don't have to be threatened by oh, I can't learn about Hinduism because I'm Christian or I'm this is just a story that you can, learn from. And I'm sure there are other religions that have similar stories. So if you start to really scratch at it, it just so happens that we talked about in the history of yoga, we share a common ancestry or lineage with Hindu mythology, Hinduism. But yoga branches away from it and is its own complete practice. We don't need to be any particular religion to benefit from. But I like learning stories from other cultures and getting these cool, this is a superhero. He's a demigod. He's what's the guy in Moana? He's Maui. No one's, So if you have a student or somebody approaches you is well, I'm Christian, I can't be talking about this stuff. But are you uncomfortable with Maui? It's the same kind of thing. We're just talking about superheroes from around the world through history. Garuda. So, again, just lightening it. I think people get so dang serious about stuff. This is a story, and stories are how humans have historically conveyed and share history, right? And share our cultural expectations and norms. And I'd much rather be sitting here talking about Garuda than some of the other characters that come up in pop culture. So let's take a moment to break out or bring out a journal, and let's think about these prompts for a moment. So how does Garuda's story inspire new ways to cue eagle pose? What imagery could help students feel both compression and lift? So thinking about imagery again, focus and freedom. How do we draw those qualities out? I think that to teach is really not about giving information. It's about drawing out of the individual what's already there. So, if we're teaching this to someone else, how do we help bring forward? Or if we're practicing it on our own, how do I bring out focus and freedom from from the sensations in the pose? And then how can embodying Garuda's courage and determination change the way you teach or practice this pose? Embodying courage and determination. All right, so about 5 minutes to chat or write your thoughts.
I'm gonna start doing that in class.
What does an eagle sound like? Is it more of like a screech?
They're like,
All right, so I hope the reflection, the prompts are fruitful for your experience of the posture first. And if you're a teacher, your ability, your capacity to share and take others on that journey. And just one more pop culture reference so that if we are uncomfortable talking about Garuda and Hindu mythology, Spider-Man. Yeah. I also thought of Harry Potter and Quidditch, because you're wrapped around your broomstick. So you can run with either of those, but let's talk about Spider-Man navigating a cityscape. Right? There is that same, he's motivated to to serve the community and protect people. There's focus, agility, and strength required. So next time you're thinking about Spider-Man, you can think about your eagle pose. Or if you're watching a Quidditch match, and that maybe even works better because he's after the little snitch, this tiny, he's got to be focused and be willing to navigate wherever it goes, right? So again, anytime you find yourself having to get uncomfortable, oh gosh, or like that toy just went under the couch and I don't want to move the whole couch, so I'm going to figure out how to get that. Breathe. Mental focus, courage, problem solving, agility, the willingness. I heard some people talking about like shape shifting, getting out of what's comfortable and into an uncomfortable space. Oh, this pose is so rich if we're thinking of it from that approach. And then we were talking about joints and muscles earlier, right? Like, is strengthening your ankle joint, and like we could list a ton of benefits for, the physical body, but so much rich spiritual, emotional, mental stuff there too. All right. Part 3. Virabhadrasana. You ever look at that word and think, how the hell do you say that? It's okay. Virabhadrasana. Warrior pose. Embodiment of courage, action, and facing challenges head on. Not dissimilar from what we just talked about, but its own story and its own spaces in the body that get presented, right? So let's explore. We're going to talk about the myth of Virabhadra, a fierce warrior who was created by our homie Shiva, who we talked about earlier, and how Virabhadra can help us understand inner strength. Oh, you're going to like this one. Righteous anger. Righteous anger. Not anger without purpose, not anger just directed at everyone, but righteous anger, correcting injustice. How these energies, how inner strength and righteous anger can be harnessed in our yoga practice, life in general. The pose challenges us physically, mentally, and hopefully will help you cultivate grounded power, focus, and readiness for action. And there's that concept again. Mountain pose is the blueprint. Wax on, wax off. Keep practicing mountain pose and growing this capacity for I'm ready to act when I'm being called to act. And I'll stand here and stand my ground until further notice, until I'm needed. But not wasting any energy while I'm doing it. So this is one that comes from the Shiva Purana texts, the Puranic texts. So, all right, so let's talk about Virabhadra. Before Virabhadra, we have to understand that Shiva, so he had many consorts and wifeys, and you hear about Shiva and Shakti or Parvati, but he had this other wife, Sati, S-A-T-I, Sati. And she came from a very wealthy family. I think her dad was a king. Daksha is his name. So Daksha did not like Shiva. Imagine this hippie-looking yoga dude with dreadlocks, dripping wet dreadlocks. What the hell has he been doing? Taking your only daughter and marrying her without your permission or your approval. So they got married, and Daksha's like, I don't accept you as my son-in-law. He's bad news. And so Daksha has a big party. And in these times, if you were to have like a gathering, a ritual ceremony where you're like, doing a big ritual fire and there's like a calling in everybody, like to not be invited, especially as family, is a huge insult. And of course, guess who didn't get invited? Sati and Shiva. So Daksha's having this big hootenanny. Everyone's invited except for you. It's a very pointed insult. Shiva, being the like meditation guru that he is like, oh well, let's just not go, babe. Let's do something else. Sati is pissed. Righteous anger. My dad can't do this to us. How dare he insult my husband, insult me? So she's all fiery, and she goes to the party and ends up getting into it with dad and self-immolates. Steps into the ritual fire. Is no more physically. So the second it happens, and Shiva didn't go with her to the party, she went by herself, and this happened. He knows. And at that point, he takes one of his dreadlocks, and he creates Virabhadra. And this warrior's only purpose is vengeance upon Daksha. You killed my wife, you're going down. So he's that symbol of righteous action. He's got the courage to go and stand in the face of this wrong. He carries weapons. His fierce gaze is one of them. So think about that when you're doing your drishti. Your gaze is fierce. It'll make the person who you're pointing your wrath towards melts in fear, wet themselves. This is my weapon. Okay. It's pretty intense. So he's coming into this chaotic situation with this, I'm here to right the wrong, create balance. So the way, I've heard this so many different ways. I love this connection, and whether it's absolutely true to the mythology or not, but let's think about 1, 2, 3, warrior 1, 2, 3. So warrior 1, right after he's created from the dreadlock of Shiva, through the earth, Virabhadra appears. Warrior 1, I'm here. There you are, Daksha, I see you. You are now beheaded. So it's this 1, 2, 3. Focused, direct, passionate warrior. Now the story resolves itself a little. I mean, yes, Daksha gets murdered. And the Bible's full of these stories too. There's a bloody mess, right? This is, why did it has to be this way? But the story kind of resolves itself where Shiva then feels regret. He feels remorse. So I think he takes the head of a goat and puts it on Daksha and brings it back to life. Something like that. And there is this sort of idea of, well, I took it too far. And I'm sorry for that, but this could have been so much easier if you had just invited us or, you know. So, you know, and this is something, you know, temperance and that discernment is something to take away from this story too. Because like, if you're pissed off, somebody hurt your feelings or insulted you, go into warrior and ask like, how far do I take this? Am I gonna go for the killing blow? Or do I just stop with the gaze? Is the gaze enough? Is showing up and looking them in the eyeballs and saying, you hurt me and I won't let you do it again. Is that gonna be enough? Or do I have to slam the door in their face, take all their belongings and kick them out in the street? See, stories help us navigate life, right? Or at least they can. So, like Virabhadra, warrior pose channels inner strength and sends it outward. So especially warrior 2, I often feel that one, right? There's this outward expansion. Warrior 1, I often will cue like, ask the heavens what you need to do. This is your moment to like kind of uplift yourself. You're rooted down. There's mountain pose there still, but you know, in warrior 1, we have this opportunity to, it can be prayer, it can be asking what's my dharma here, it can be like listening for that inner cue of moving forward, and then on warrior 2, now we're kind of bringing it outward. And warrior 3, because it's a balance pose, requires a lot of action and focus. A lot of like, you know, your ankle is doing that tempering, and there's like shaking up the leg. And if you're really sprawling out in it, it's pure action, but you're still and centered. So, you know, the stances mirror courage and action. And then we see that blueprint of mountain pose, legs rooted, core engaged, arms extended, gaze steady, open chest. All of that shows up. So if we rehearse it in mountain pose, then the warriors really speak to our body. It teaches us to face challenges boldly, balancing effort and ease. There's thira and sukha, stability and reach, power and presence. So if you want to get up and embody this with me, let's take our knowledge of the story onto the mat. And we'll start off in warrior 1 with mountain pose being the framework. In warrior 1, our hips remain closed and we remain even in the hips. So as you step, let's go left foot forward and right foot back. We're going to turn our back foot just about 45-degree angle out. Now looking at your feet, I want you to envision railroad tracks. And I want your left foot on the left track and your right foot on the right track. So we try to align the feet wider. So I'm still looking around and I'm seeing a lot of you on a tightrope. Your feet are too close to the middle of the mat. So if we push the right foot towards the side of the mat and the left foot towards the other side of the mat, then we're more in that position. And it allows us to bend the front knee, keep our hips forward like we are in mountain pose, and you will feel some strain on that back knee. And this is where sometimes I'll cue just come into high lunge because that is too much for our knee. Or go wider. Keep walking that left foot over and take the tracks wider. And then we're going to hands on hips, shoulders back, and from here you might raise up. So we'll bend the front knee, stretch the torso, right? Breathe. And maybe you can look up and you can arch your back and add a back bend to warrior 1. Good. Let's bring it down, hands to heart center or at your hips. Lean forward, feel the body weight shift. Get light in the back foot before stepping to the top of the mat. Go ahead and switch sides. Right foot forward, left foot back. I like to think about what the difference between a soldier and a warrior is. Soldiers take orders. from other humans. Warriors take it from God. It's divinely inspired, righteous action. So when we embody this warrior, and it's whatever your definition of God or higher power is here, we're asking for guidance, connecting to that. Rooted to the earth, I'm here for action and purpose, divinely inspired. So the transition from 1 to 2 is kind of tricky because not only are we bringing the arms down to this new expanded position from the shoulders, but as I twist my torso, I've got to turn my back foot so that now the feet are perpendicular. And here I like to align the front foot with the back arch. Bend front knee. Mountain pose, so we're upright, shoulders over hips, and the center of the body very centered over the pelvis. And you can expand the arms again here. Look over your right middle finger. There's that intense gaze. That's your weapon. Use it wisely. Soft face, strong, fierce eyes. Yeah. All right. So let's relax out of that and just shift to our other side, warrior 2. And just kind of watch out for the too eager warrior where you're leaning out over your thigh. We stay upright. We keep our shoulders, there's length between shoulders and ears, and we're expanding from our chest out through the fingers. The arms are level, and the front knee opening up towards the pinky toe, so we have this left hip is very open. Gazing over the left middle finger, or even try it eyes closed perhaps for a couple of breaths and see how that feels. Pushing into the corners of the feet, legs activated, thighs engaged. Long torso. And exhale, bring hands in, soften out. And so I can transition from warrior 2 to warrior 3. I often don't because, again, we're in a closed hip. So to get to that intense strike, it's tricky because it's a balance pose. But if we put a lot of integrity into our warrior 1, and I've heard it called lightning warrior, where you're leaning forward and you create this really nice diagonal line from your back heel through your spine, up through your fingers. That's a nice place to enter your warrior 1 because then we just create lift and we think about a seesaw. As the torso and arms come forward, the back leg lifts. And we're attempting to make like a straight line, but a lot of us are going to be more of a slant, and that's fine. That balancing leg, not locked, but a soft, slight micro bend. Okay, so you can come in and out. Some helpful like props would be hands on a chair, hands on a wall, foot on a couch or a table or a wall. So you can get that sense of a flat long line from your hands to your heel. And this hip is drawn down. And I'll check on that by flexing the back foot and point your pinky toe to the floor. So you're closing your hips, which makes it really tricky. And again, why I like to use the wall.
Sorry.
Yeah. So if you're doing it now, try to switch legs. Come from warrior 1 into that lightning warrior. I'll put hands on thighs or hands on chair or hands on wall if I need support. And right here. Now, if you're using vinyasa kramas to inform your practice, you can do the same thing, lying on your back to help you build awareness and, create the stretch in the back of the leg that's required, toning your abdominals. So keeping in mind that sometimes it's just a shift in angle. I think of Tetris pieces being rotated. I'm in that same shape, but now I'm on my back and now I'm on my side, up against a wall, and it'll help you with the balancing aspect. Don't forget your fierce gaze, your purpose, your dharma, your courageous warrior. It's so cornball. I know. This is a whole cheesy lesson day, but. Well, thank you.
I love it.
Told you this is my jam. So feel the presence of Virabhadra when you do these poses. Channel his energy.
I think it's still Warrior 3, it's just a different variation.
Yeah, where you put the arms in Warrior 3, you can do airplane, arms forward. I wouldn't think, no, it doesn't have its own name. Yeah. So you can come back to seated, take a little respite. And again, bringing things back to some key words here. Grounded, and that's where that mountain blueprint comes back. Powerful, unwavering. Virabhadra, seconds after he kills Daksha, ceases to exist. Pops out of existence. He did his job. And, that's that, like, I'm here for a purpose, like, especially when you have, like, let's say, an uncomfortable task that only you can do, only I can deliver this message to this person. So it's like putting on this suit of armor for this one moment, or we talk about masks. Like, this is where ego can help us. I'm playing the part of Virabhadra just for this one day. I'm going to go to this party, I'm going to call him out, and then I'm going to leave and I'm going to let that go. I don't have to be the warrior all day, every day. That would be exhausting. That's why Shavasana. That's why integration practices and rest. But, every now and then I got to be the hero. I got to step up. I got to be the mountain pose guy. I got to be the Garudasana eagle lady. I got to be the warrior chick who shows up and does the job because everyone else ran screaming. And just to take that off as well. That's what I think, the culmination of Virabhadra's gone. He was only around for 30 minutes. He was born, killed somebody, and died. And nobody grieved him. He just did his thing. But there's a lot of grief. And there, if you follow any more of the stories in the Mahabharata, lots of grief, lots of strife, lots of family conflict. Who challenges us more than our families? Our neighbors. It's always people close to us. It's not like random strangers I don't know. I get along great with a dude on an airplane I've never met before and will never see again. We have great conversations. All right, so let's do our breakaways, just because I feel like you guys are really rocking at that energy. Questions to consider. How can Virabhadra's story inspire the way you cue warrior? What imagery could help students embody courage, focus, and righteous action? So there's that. And then how does connecting to this myth influence the way you teach or inhabit your pose? Reflect, discuss, enjoy that. This is what's happening. This is growth. All right, so, we just chatted about the warrior poses and, hopefully this term embodying, these more lofty principles and values is starting to click. But if it's not, don't worry, just keep practicing. It's a practice. So, and with these stories, if you get into the storytelling yoga merger, you can always kind of shift from character to character too. Like, man, Sati was a badass. In some stories, she doesn't step into the fire. She literally, her own inner forces ignite her. So she's just power. We can think about Shiva and his grief and rage. How many times has life knocked you down and made you feel so much grief or anger that you don't know what to do with it? Well, if you were to focus that energy and create something powerful from it that can help you move, help you heal, help others heal. That's kind of the energy I'm reading from this. To be willing to confront and to be willing to step out of what's easy or comfortable or, in the story, it's at a party. Imagine, of all places, to confront someone during the middle of a party or when there's a lot of witnesses or, a potential cultural like clash, like I'm moving against the grain because I'm choosing to speak out. And we can look at, daksha. Have you ever been a dick and realized it? Or just, like, are you being small-minded because somebody's not behaving in a way? E represents ego, right? His daughter married somebody he didn't approve of. He wants to control her. Where does our control get us? Where does that, that intense grasping and trying to make others yield to our will end us, So these are things that may now come up for you when you're in this posture. And let's say you get on your mat or you lead a class and you're like, okay, I want to make warrior the focus of this practice. And, this is what's been going on in my busy, busy mind. Call it in and think about what would I, if I could weave a little character out of my hair or some part of me that serves a unique purpose, what would that look like? This is why I keep a journal by my mat oftentimes, because ideas will emerge as if put there from spirit on the mat that don't come to me when I'm, not practicing asana. And so feel, Virabhadra's mission, perfect illustration of focus and singular purpose. Every movement, every stance, every strike, every breath directed towards a goal. And then the resolution of letting it go. All right, so just to kind of bring us back from this whole lesson, if you were to come into a posture of dignity, sit tall, take a moment to reflect on your takeaways. Leaving this practice today with a sense of stability, like Shiva and mountain pose, willfully standing under the waterfall, trusting and knowing you can handle it. You can channel it. You can allow her to flow with grace to the earth. Embodying Garudasana, embodying the journey of Garuda through the twists and turns, the challenges and obstacles, because your mission is one of love and loyalty, learning the art of balance, and receiving the gift of expansion through learning how to contract and then release out. Learning how to turn inward and do what needs to be done. And moving on from this practice today with that same confidence and focus and righteous purpose as Virabhadra, as the warrior, embodying that sense of duty and maintaining that singular focus until the job is done. Well, thank you for letting me tell you stories and share this practice with you. Om Shanti, Om Peace. Please take those and enjoy them. Good job. Thank you.